day and welcome to our daily news roundup on Atlantic TV. I'm Mike Egobadio. Here are our top stories. President Tinubu to consider state police bill on September the 3rd. IPAC elects 9-member executive in Osun. And the National Executive Council approves $4.5 billion refinancing deal to boost Nigerian liquidity. And on the foreign scene, Michigan State Primary highlights democratic divide over Israel. And talking sport, Nigerian leads African bid for 2034 Commonwealth Games. Now to the news in full. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is set to receive the Executive National Policing Bill for review on September the 3rd as part of effort to establish a legal framework for state policing in Nigeria. The presidency also launched a public portal for Nigerians to submit memorandum and recommendations before the bill is sent to the National Assembly. Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, said the proposed law is designed to create a professional and accountable federal and state policing system while ensuring national standard, security, and the protection of citizens' rights. He clarified that although the constitutional amendment on state police that passed both chambers of the National Assembly is yet in force until it secures approval from state houses of assembly. Until then, the Nigerian police force remains the country's only constitutionally recognized police service. Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, cautioned against using state police for political persecution, while Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun said the legislation would clearly define the roles, funding, and operational boundaries of both federal and state police forces. The Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council has given the federal government until August the 11th to address the delayed payment of 2 months' wages award and implement the 40% peculiar allowance for federal workers. In a letter to the Minister of Finance, the union said previous appeals have received no response, warning that continued delay could trigger industrial unrest. It is seeking an urgent meeting to resolve the outstanding issues. The council said the unpaid wages award covers March and April of 2026, while the 40% allowance approved to take effect from May 1st has yet to be implemented across many ministries, departments, and agencies. The union warned that failure to act could lead to industrial action, saying the meeting request is a final effort to prevent a nationwide crisis in the federal public service. Away from that, the House of Representatives Committee probing the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council is facing criticism as it prepares to submit its final report. Concerns have been raised over the appointment of committee chairman Yusuf Baji and the handling of the investigation. Critics said key weaknesses, including the president's chief of staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, were not invited, while questions surrounding the alleged 400 million naira payment and the death of Dalapo Tamilola remain unresolved. The civil society groups have urged the committee to widen the probe by summoning all principal actors, tracing the alleged funds, and conducting a forensic investigation before concluding its assignment. Meanwhile, self-acclaimed PFIPC Director General Adeyemi Adeniyi has demanded the opportunity to testify why the FCC denied allegations of wrongdoing, insisting all transfers of forfeited assets follow due process. Talking politics, 14 of the 22 registered political parties in Osun State has elected a new 9-member executive for the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, during an affirmation vote held in Osogbo. Chairman of the Democratic Leadership Alliance, Tosin Adeyemi, emerged as the new IPAC chairman, alongside other officials representing African Democratic Congress, African Alliance, Labour Party, APC, and other political parties. Now, in his acceptance speech, Yemi said the new executive was constituted to fulfill a leadership vacuum ahead of the August 15 governorship election, following the failure of the national IPAC leadership to conduct elections in the state. The development comes amid an ongoing leadership dispute within Osun IPAC, with some political parties previously rejecting the appointment of a caretaker committee and insisting on a democratically elected leadership. Talking business, the National Economic Council has approved the refinancing of the $3.3 billion Project Gazelle pre-export finance facility with a new $4.5 billion arrangement known as the Project Gazelle 2. Now, the approval was granted during the Council's 159th meeting chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima. Finance Minister Taiwo Oyedele said the new facility will refinance the remaining $1.5 billion balance of the 2023 loan while unlocking an additional $3 billion to strengthen Nigerians' external reserve and support key fiscal and infrastructural projects. He added that the refinancing comes with more favorable terms, including a 12.5% reduction in the volume of crude oil pledged as security. Now, according to Oyedele, the reduction will free up an extra 11.250 barrels of crude oil per day for the Federation, increasing revenue output and loan arrangements while improving the country's refinancing structure. The council also backed the initiative, describing it as a key step towards boosting liquidity for the Federation. Meanwhile, Vice President Shettima urged members of the council to prioritize responsive and data-driven social protection policies to tackle poverty, stressing that every government decision must improve the lives of ordinary Nigerians and restore public confidence in governance. Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has called on Nigerians to shift its focus from budget allocations to effective project execution and infrastructural maintenance. Speaking at the 2026 Delta State Economic and Investment Summit, she said sustainable development depends on effective implementation rather than increased public spending alone. Okonjo-Iweala stressed the need for a stronger maintenance culture, better ports, improved digital infrastructure, and lower trade costs to boost Nigerian competitiveness. She also noted that ongoing effort to stabilize the exchange rate and curb inflation could strengthen the economy if sustained. The WTO chief said Delta State has the potential to become a major commercial hub and urged the state government to remain fiscal disciplined by directing public funds towards productive investment. She commended the state's emphasis on capital expenditure in its proposed 2026 budget. Njokola also backed Delta State plan to establish special economic zone, describing them as a key driver of industrial growth. She said the initiative would succeed only with reliable power supply, quality transport infrastructure, digital connectivity, and strong collaboration between the state and the federal government. With that business news, we need to go on a break now, but do remember when we'll come back, more news as it concerns the foreign scene, as well as the ever-exciting world of sports. Join us again.
Don't miss out on exciting news, events, and more. Stay connected by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Atlantic Media and TV.
And on the foreign scene, voters in the United States of Michigan are heading to the polls as the Democratic Senate primary puts division within the party over support for Israel in sharp focus. The closely watched contest has become a key test of democratic opinion on the United States policy towards Israel, with candidates taking contrasting position on the issue. Now, political analysts said the outcome could influence the party's approach to foreign policy ahead of future national elections. The primary is being closely monitored as a measure of voters' sentiment on one of the most decisive issues facing the Democratic Party. Away from that, at least 72 people have died after a mass rush of migrants from Morocco into Spain's northern African enclave of Encita, according to Spanish authorities. Officials say around 50,000 migrants crossed into the city on July the 30th in an unprecedented surge at one of the European Union's only land borders with Africa. Images from the scene showed migrants gathering along the beach as Spanish security forces worked to control the situation and respond to the influx. The incident has intensified concerns over migration pressure at the EU's external borders, with authorities continuing search, rescue, and security operation in the enclave. And talking sport, Nigeria is spearheading Africans' campaign to host the 2034 Commonwealth Games, with the National Sport Commission stepping up efforts to ensure the hosting right for the continent after missing out on the 2030 edition. At the Commonwealth Sports Minister meeting in Glasgow, the National Sport Council Chairman, Shehu Diko, urged that rather Africa be given exclusive consideration for the 2034 Games. The Nigerian delegation later held strategic talks with the Commonwealth Games Federation on the process and requirement for awarding the hosting rights. The National Sports Commission said the discussion marked a significant step towards turning Africans' long-standing ambition of hosting the Commonwealth Games for the first time into reality, with Nigeria playing a leading role. Nigerian campaign follows Team Nigerian's strong performance at the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, where the country won 24 medals and finished as Africa's highest-ranked nation on the medals table. The English Football Association is preparing to withdraw its support for FIFA President Gianni Infantino's bid for another term following the collapse of his controversial World Cup privatization proposal. Now, the move follows growing criticism of Infantino's leadership, with the Football Association of Wales already withdrawing its backing and UEFA considering legal action over the failed commercial plan. Now, according to reports, the English FA will formally notify FIFA of its decision, while UEFA has described the proposed World Cup sell-off as a backroom deal and says it has lost confidence in Infantino's leadership. The latest development are to mounting pressure on FIFA president, with calls growing for a full review of his leadership ahead of the next FIFA presidential election. We need to go check what the weather will look like for cities across Nigeria today.